What's up, everybody? Aaron and Paige here, back with the Parenthood Unscripted Podcast, Episode 5. We do have a special guest here. It's another late night session, but Addie is here sleeping with us. We're currently on our first vacation of the summer, our cottage. So we're going to go, this is going to be a two-part series. First is going to be our kind of like our stay at the resort that we usually stay every year, and then the second part will be at kind of like the cottage that we're currently at, but that'll be next week. So part 1 of part 2 series. So yeah, we'll just get right into it, talking about what we traveling and how the first half has been going, or the first little bit has been going.
Well, the first couple of days we stayed at my parents' house.
Yes. Because we had to drive up early because I had a meeting with all the athletic therapists in the Ontario Hockey League, so I had to drive up with the girls and the boy and drop them off at Grandma and Grandpa's house, and the Paige can kind of go from there on what transpired while I was away.
I mean, it was kind of nice to have like backup with the kids, but it's hard. I'm really looking forward to the day that all the grandparents are retired, because it's hard to be at my parents' house. Both of them still work. Mm-hmm. So the kids usually wake up while my mom was out doing like the morning stuff, and then she's kind of home to help and do whatever during the day, but like my dad works during the day from home. So it just feels kind of hard because everybody's home, but like everybody's trying to get stuff done.
Yeah.
And Addie loves her family. Like that is like probably one of her best qualities.
Yes.
Is how hard she loves her family. So it makes it so like Grandpa's on a call with work, and she's like trying to sit up at the desk with him, asking him to play Baby Shark. At one point, he was on a call because I could hear him talking, and all I can hear is her like pounding on these piano keys right behind him. And the microphone he uses for his calls are very sensitive because my brother has a leopard gecko, and he feeds the gecko live crickets. And my dad said that one time somebody asked if there was crickets chirping. So like, it's not like they can't hear what's going on in the background. So it's like my dad is trying to have work calls, and there's a baby crying, there's a 2-year-old playing the piano, asking to listen to Baby Shark, whatever. And then my mom just like, I don't know, she has her daily routines too. And I would never ask her to like, you know, stop her routine to accommodate us. Yeah. So it just always kind of leaves a weird feeling, because I feel like I want to get as much family time as we can while we're there. But then there's also like a very small period of the day where, I don't know, we would actually have the time to go off and do something. Yeah. So it just kind of feels like the whole day ends up very broken up. So stays at I feel like my parents in particular, it doesn't always feel that like way at your parents. Yeah. And especially now that they're kind of in the process, like your dad is retired and your mom is going to get there shortly. So anyway, it was interesting. I mean, we had fun, and my brother was off the one day, which was nice.
That was like the first 3 days before we ended up going.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we drove up late Tuesday night, got to my parents' house like in the very early morning hours of Wednesday, and then you left Wednesday afternoon. I stayed with the kids there. On Friday, my parents drove us up. Yeah. And then you met us on Friday night. So it was, I mean, basically every day feels a little bit like the same.
Yeah. We're very lucky with our kids, because they're, I would say, more than average good travelers, per se.
I mean, now Everett has always been good in the car. Yeah. But he is also only 3.5 months old. Yeah. Addie hated the car.
She did well, obviously, because she was young, and then she kind of went through this period of
Yeah, but
not doing well.
do you remember when we went to get our Christmas tree? Like, she was only a month old.
Yeah, I guess so.
And she was already, like, screaming in the car.
But
So
she's a good traveler now.
she's a good traveler now. And actually, I have to give her props because so our drive up to my parents went okay. We left at around bedtime-ish.
Yeah.
And Everett fell asleep, which we expected. He slept the whole way. Addie struggled. This was probably one of the first drives we've done in a while that she has struggled. But even though she was struggling, she did really well.
Yeah.
Like, she was up probably until about 11 before she probably, like, finally passed out. But she wasn't, like, constantly complaining or crying. She just kind of was a little, like, grumbly in the back seat.
Yeah.
And I think she told us she was tired.
Yeah, I think it was just like that, like how kids get, where they get to the point where they're, like, almost overtired, and they're kind of like, I need to sleep, but...
Well, and she was asking for me. Like, I think she just felt like she needed, like, some snuggles to fall asleep. So, so she was up really late that night. But overall, I mean, even with that being kind of the worst drive we've done with her in a long time, she did really well. So, yeah, the first few days, like, while we were there without you, were pretty uneventful. We really just hung out. We did walks. That was basically it.
Yeah, simple things.
Yeah, mostly nothing.
Yeah.
I took naps with the kids.
That's good.
Yeah.
That doesn't usually happen.
Yeah, so it was nice. Both kids went down at the same time. I don't know, 1 or 2 days that we were there. So I was able to get a little nap in. Other than that, there was really nothing to it. And then Friday, we loaded them up in the afternoon. Addie, I tried to get her to nap that day. Would not. She ended up falling asleep on the Muskoka chairs on my parents' front porch while we were getting everything packed up into the car. So she was ready for a good nap in the car, and then she was awake the entire drive until like the last half hour, which I kind of figured was going to end up happening. But
she was still awake when I got there like late at night.
Yeah.
So I came up Friday as well after my conference there. So
yeah,
I didn't get there until like almost 10, right? 9:30, 10?
You were there probably about 9:30.
Okay.
Because we hadn't been there that long when you got there. And we got there at about 10 to 7. So, got there. Everett, of course, had napped for like 2.5 hours at that point, which, I mean, was great. But
yeah,
it just kind of it set the tone for the weekend a little bit.
Yeah.
Killarney is like one of our favorite places that we go to.
Yeah, it's like an all-inclusive resort in Algonquin Park.
Yes.
So
we went there after we got married as like a little mini honeymoon because we knew we weren't going to take our bigger honeymoon until later. And when we were there, you said, oh, wouldn't it be great if we could come every year? Yeah. And this was our 6th stay. So we've made it work for 5 years. Mm-hmm. Obviously, this was our first year trying to do it with 2 kids.
Yes.
Addie has always done really well. The first time we took her, she was 7 months.
But that was like during that COVID time where we couldn't be in the dining hall.
We ate all meals in our cabin.
Yeah,
so I'm sure that was part of it.
Yeah.
And then second time we took her, she was 1.5 years. And I mean, of course, there was some entertaining that needed to happen to keep her at the dinner table. But overall, she did pretty well.
Yeah.
And usually she held it together until kind of the in-between of like meal and dessert and things like that. So this year we were taking on a 3.5-month-old and a 2.5-year-old, and that first dinner was...
I wasn't there.
Yes.
So
Aaron wasn't there, but it really did just kind of...
It did set the tone because I was there the next day.
Yeah, and it just continued. So because he had just napped, Everett, of course, woke up. And so I'm sure he was hungry, but we had to immediately go to the dining room because they were going to be closing the kitchen because it was going to be a quiet weekend. So they wanted to finish up the dinner early, I guess. Tried to feed him while we were in the dining room. He He would nurse for like a minute here and there, but there was just so much going on that he wouldn't focus on nursing. Addie was, I think it was just being overtired. Like, I think it was just everything. She had these 2 little cat naps during the day, and she was missing you and just everything. So she was a little grumbly as well.
Yeah.
But she had fun. She got to feed the ducks. I forgot eaten alive that first night. For anybody who's not used to the Muskoka, this is like
The worst time for
black fly
black flies.
season.
Yeah.
So poor Everett, those first day or so, he got really eaten alive. And unbeknownst to us, I think Addie was getting eaten alive as well, but she kept insisting her hair be down, so I don't think we realized just how
until
bad, bad it was.
Either I can't remember if it was a shower or we kind of were putting her hair up, and we're like, wow, she's been eaten alive underneath her hair behind her neck.
Yeah.
And it's all the way down her back and now on her legs and stuff. So.
Probably because she kept insisting on wearing dresses too, so the bugs could go right up it. So, but yeah, so basically every meal after that Friday night dinner went the same. Everett cried through it. Addie was upset through it. She wanted to go feed the ducks. She wanted to color. She wanted to get up with mom. She wanted to go outside with grandma. She wanted, like, it was just nonstop. I think really the only day we had that both kids kind of cooperated for the meals was Sunday as we were leaving. I mean, I don't know. It's just traveling with kids, I guess.
Yeah. They finally got adjusted on the last day, basically. So
yeah. It was fun, though.
Yeah, it was fun.
We got to take them on. We did a couple hikes, took them to the beach.
Yeah, they got a nice beach there. It's like nice and private, and
yeah,
bunch of canoes, kayaks, stand-up paddleboards, whatever you want, they kind of have there. So it was nice to kind of have our own beach and then kind of do our own thing. I love paddleboarding on the quiet water there, and Addie loves joining. So
yeah,
we did a couple sessions with mom and dad out on the water. So
yeah, I mean, she like really lived her best life. Other than eating in the dining room, she had a blast.
Yeah.
Everett, I think it's just a combination of new surroundings, being eaten by bugs, not getting naps the way he would at home.
Yes, that's true.
So, I mean, I think he did as good as you can expect a 3.5-month-old to.
Yeah.
So.
That's what it is.
Yeah, I think we might have to put a pause on our yearly trip.
That might happen next year. So.
Yes.
But we're trying to figure out with this cottage. Now we're at another cottage, but we'll kind of update you on that next week and on episode 6, part 2. But we're trying to figure out if this is more of a situation that we might want to do next year instead of Killarney, which I feel like it's in a better
starting
situation.
to lean that way. Yeah. I mean, even the location in particular, just with family and stuff, has been really nice. And it just feels good. The one thing I will say for Killarney is, like, there's no TV, so it was like every day we'd get up, we'd walk over, get a cup of coffee. Addie would feed the ducks or go looking to see if they had stocked up the duck food, eat our breakfast. The one day we went hiking, the other day we went to the beach, played, did whatever.
We saw Auntie Rebecca at the
visitor center
there.
That was on Monday, though.
Yeah, that is true. So.
And then we would go back, have our lunch, go back out and play some more.
It was just like...
Go back for dinner.
Yeah, you're just you're constantly on the move. And it's good because obviously the kids aren't in front of a screen and whatnot.
Yeah,
so.
I mean, the days fly by.
Yes. And the kids go to sleep quite easily because
they're tired.
On the move.
Yeah, basically from the time we get up to the time we go to bed. Like, it's just nonstop. And most of the naps are like relatively on the go. Like Everett napped at the beach, Addie napped while we walked around the property a little bit the one day, and I think the other day they just napped in the car, both of them. So it's just nice to feel like you're spending your time outside without the distraction of screens. And I don't know, like, I know you don't like Yahtzee, but like,
Yeah, I do not like Yahtzee. For anyone out there, it's
the
not.
best game
It's not the best game. It's literally the like the easiest game to play. You literally just roll dice, but it's just like
I love it.
you having to use your mind when you want to just kind of relax.
Well,
Is
it's about strategy.
yes. I rather like I one of my favorite games is Sorry,
Yes.
and your grandma loves Sorry as well. So
Yes, she did. But yeah, like, I don't know. It was just nice that really the only time you'd ever think of putting a screen on would be like maybe after dinner. That was really the
Yeah.
only time that it ever felt like it was like true downtime. I mean, all day could have been downtime. But, and then after dinner, we would just go into the games room,
yeah, which is nice.
play games. And it just felt so good.
And the good thing about Killarney, like I know, like it's expensive. Like you need to have obviously some sort of money or whatnot to be there, but they're very family oriented there, which
Super
is
family oriented.
I really like that. Like we had a crying baby in the dining room, and maybe there might have been some people that were like, why would they bring a crying baby in there? But I'd say 90%, 95% of the people just probably didn't care and were just like, ah, I've been there.
Yeah. Yeah, even the staff were like, babies just want to be heard and whatever. They were all very understanding. I had told myself going up there that I wasn't going to be mortified if that's the way that the kids were in the dining room. And that's just really one of those things that's easier said than done.
Yeah. You like setting the expectations.
Well, I think it's just like when the kids have, well, I can't say kids because Everett's so little and he's pretty easy to kind of
Yeah.
rein in if you can walk him around. But like Addie has had a huge temper tantrum in the middle of the grocery store, and I really didn't feel overly fazed by it. Like I think I was really able to just get in the zone and be like, she needs to just work out whatever's going on here. And I did just stand there in the grocery store with her while she threw a huge fit until she finally calmed down enough that I was able to like pick her up, put her in the cart, pay for our groceries, and leave. And so I like to give myself a little bit of credit that I'm usually pretty good with just being like, okay, like you do you. And so I tried really hard not to set, super high expectations, but we've done this before with a kid. So I think I just had my expectations set for that.
Yeah.
And it just was not that this year. And as much as I don't want to be frustrated that my kids are acting like kids,
Yeah.
it's hard because one of my favorite parts of the weekend is getting to like sit down,
For dinner and
have
enjoying the food
really
and
good
stuff
food
like
with my parents.
that. Yeah.
So that's always one of my favorite parts of the weekend. And like for Addie, understandably so, that's just not her favorite part.
No.
Because every other part is filled with doing really fun things with her grandparents. So I can't blame her that that's not her favorite
Why
part.
would she want to sit through
But
dinner where she probably doesn't really want to eat that food and go out and feed the ducks? She'd rather go and feed the ducks.
yeah, I think Addie would not have eaten one meal this weekend if we had let her just skip meals and fed birds instead.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I tried not to have that expectation on the kids, and I mean, they behaved like children.
Yeah.
So
And they're children, so.
I know. I know. I think it's just one of those situations where it's easier, like, in your mind, you can tell yourself, like, I'm not going to apologize for my children behaving like children, and I'm not going to
Yeah.
put pressure on my kids to behave like they're how many years older than they are. Like,
Yeah.
they're 3.5 months and 2.5. Like, they're going to have meltdowns when, we were there for 48 hours and
Yeah.
we ate 6 meals in like a restaurant type setting. Like, what kid is not going to have a breakdown at some point in that situation? Like, until they're older. That's just, I mean, you should expect that.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I probably could have been more. I should have set my expectations lower.
Yeah.
But it's fine.
It is what it is, right?
We had, yeah, and I mean, at the end of the day,
We still had a great time.
we had a great time.
We enjoyed food.
It was
and
still a great experience.
company with the grandparents and.
I mean, I will never, ever say no to giving our kids the opportunity to have like special experiences like that with their grandparents.
Yeah.
On either side. Like, the one thing I have realized, and like, I think I love my family. Like, I love my family a lot, and I always thought about what relationship my children would have with my family. And I love your family too. But the one thing I've realized since becoming a parent is that I think it has made me love both of our families so much more and made me value what those relationships look like. Because I'm grateful for this time with my parents, but I truly don't know that if we had this opportunity with any single family member, I would jump at it. Because I love getting to watch our kids
interact with either.
Yeah, interact
sets of
with
grandparents or even any of the family members, to be honest.
Yeah, any of our family members. Like, it doesn't matter who it is. I just love watching them get to build those relationships. And I think it really doesn't matter whether it's, on mom's side, dad's side. Like, it really doesn't matter. Like, it's just so nice to watch.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just feel like so far, I know we might have to switch up the tradition a little bit next year or for the next few years while we have young kids. But I don't know, it just feels so special that we get to do
these type of things.
Yeah. And it's like memories that I hope our kids are going to like hold on to for forever. Mm-hmm. That doing a trip like this with their grandparents was something that we did prioritize financially because it is an investment for sure. Yeah. But it is something that we prepare for financially each year to be able to do. And so I hope that when they grow up, they just, I don't know, appreciate the time that they got with their grandparents doing something special and out of the ordinary. And that we kind of encouraged it. What about you? This is actually, my dad asked me this question. I kind of talked to you a little bit about it, but my dad asked me, and I had honestly never really given it any thought about what it feels like to do a trip like that with your in-laws.
I don't know. It doesn't really faze me, to be honest with you. Like, I'm like in this situation, like we've talked about, I'm very go with the flow type of guy. So if we don't end up going to a certain hike, if we don't end up doing stuff, I'm not going to be upset.
I know. I mean, I know you wouldn't be, but like even just like the financial piece of it, like knowing that, this is something that we prioritize each year. And like when we got married and you said, oh, wouldn't it be great if we could do this every year? I'm sure you didn't necessarily think that doing it every year was going to somehow end up involving my parents.
I think it's nice having that time with your parents, and I don't know, just I have a good time with hanging out with your parents, so I don't think it's an issue, to be honest with you.
Okay.
Because, I don't know, like your parents like being up in Algonquin Park, and like they've been up there, your mom was saying like 35 years this summer or something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
So that's like kind of like their favorite thing to do, kind of our favorite kind of place to be hanging out if we're not in Windsor. So yeah, it works out very well. And yeah, I just like creating memories with our kids and our grandparents. Like, we're going to see my parents next week, and we're going to do that whole Toronto adventure thing as well later on in July. So
yeah, I'm very excited for this summer. Like, the one big perk to maternity leave in your work schedule is that we're actually getting to do some family trips this year, which is nice.
We haven't had that. Well, we haven't had that ever, I feel like. ever
No.
since the kids were born, because she was in
She was a
COVID, and
COVID baby, and
he's been born. He's only been about 3.5 months now. So
yeah.
So it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be fun. The first time for
Yeah, like I had
full summer.
not realized until we were talking about it with my parents this past weekend that this week while we're here at this cottage is the first time we've ever gone away as just
Us
us.
four.
But even like we
Yeah,
never went
before.
away just us three. Like
Yeah.
this is the first time that we've gone away just us since
Since we
our
were,
honeymoon
Yeah.
was probably the last trip that we took without grandparents or parents involved.
Yeah.
So, I mean, even just that is wild.
That is crazy to
So.
think. That's wild. Mm-hmm. But it's been good so far.
Yes. Kids are exhausted, but living their best life.
Yes. We're exhausted too.
I know.
And it's hot here. This one thing that I wish that this cottage had was AC, because I'm a cold guy, but we had that little heat wave at the beginning of the spring, so kind of prepared us for
We're
this.
well
but
practiced.
It's not as bad as in the
Yeah.
back home, so
We could go jump in the lake if we really needed.
Yeah, the lake's about half a kilometer.
Do you think it's that far?
It might be. This is a huge lot on this.
It is a pretty big piece of property.
Yeah, I do have like some sort of a fly behind me, so if you're hearing that in the mic, sorry. It's a huge lot.
Yeah, it is.
It's a nice cottage. But you guys, if you are listening to this on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, you can go check out. We'll be putting on a vlog of the whole trip, so you can check that out. And if you're watching this on YouTube, just stay tuned for next Tuesday when the vlog will be up and running. You can kind of see everything that happened over the last week and a half. So, yeah, but
Well, that pretty much sums up the first little bit.
yeah, that sums up our first little bit. Like I said, this is part one of a 2-part series of our cottaging vacation to start off the summertime. But yeah, I think we'll just end it there. And so, like I said, if you're watching this on YouTube, subscribe to the channel, like, and then comment down below on what you're doing for your summer vacation this year. And if you're listening on Apple Podcast or Spotify, make sure to subscribe to the channels as well. Give us a 5-star review if you like what you're hearing. And we're going to go put this little girl to sleep. And we're also going to go to sleep too.
I hope so. I'm tired.
Yes. So I hope you have a good night, everybody. If you're listening to this at night, if you're listening to this in the morning, hope you have a good day. And stay tuned for part 2.